What if there exists a secret map, hidden for centuries, that unlocks the very fabric of reality and our place within it? A map not of geographical locations, but of the very structure of the universe and our own consciousness. A system of interconnected symbols and principles passed down through esoteric traditions. Understanding this map, it's said, can lead to profound personal transformation, a deeper sense of purpose, and an undeniable connection to the divine. Kabbalah, with its roots stretching back to ancient Judaism, offers just such a map. Through the ages, it has evolved, shaped by key figures like Isaac Luria, whose teachings dramatically reshaped Kabbalistic thought in the 16th century. However, Kabbalah is often misunderstood. Some perceive it as an exclusive domain of Jewish mystics, while others view it as a form of dangerous occultism, best left untouched. But I assure you, Kabbalah is neither of these things. It is a system of knowledge, a framework for understanding the universe and our place within it, that can be accessed and applied by anyone, regardless of background or belief. Contemporary teachers are making the core wisdom of Kabbalah available to a wider audience than ever, offering paths to understanding previously only available through years of intense study. Through years of studying Kabbalah, I've come to see it not as an abstract theory, but as a powerful framework for personal growth and spiritual development. What happens if we remain ignorant of Kabbalistic principles? A lack of understanding, in this case, can lead to a limited perspective on reality, a sense of disconnection from the divine, and missed opportunities for profound personal growth. Imagine navigating life without a map, stumbling through the darkness, never quite understanding where you are or where you're going. But by understanding the underlying principles of Kabbalah, you can gain a deeper understanding of yourself, your relationships, and your place in the cosmos. This understanding unlocks greater self-awareness, inner peace, and a strong sense of purpose. There's a hidden dimension to the Tree of Life, the central symbol of Kabbalah that most people never see, a map of consciousness that can unlock profound insights into the human psyche. It can be difficult to look at an old, complicated diagram like the Tree of Life and understand it. But if you know the basic elements of Kabbalah, you can use that to apply it to the real world to understand what is really going on. Kabbalah is not merely an ancient mystical tradition. It's a practical map of divine reality that can be used to navigate life's challenges and connect with the divine. This map is useful for organizing reality and knowing which path to take when problems arise. By understanding the principles of Kabbalah, we can unlock hidden potentials within ourselves and create a more fulfilling and meaningful life. The Tree of Life is not just a diagram. It's a map of consciousness that shows you how to grow. Let's begin our journey by exploring the hidden wisdom of Kabbalah and discovering its transformative potential. First, we'll delve into the historical roots of Kabbalah. Then, we'll explore the key concepts of the Tree of Life and the Sephirot, the 10 emanations of divine energy. Finally, we'll discuss how you can apply these principles to your own life, unlocking hidden potential and creating a more meaningful existence. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of Kabbalah and its practical applications, and you'll be ready to embark on your own journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. So how exactly can a diagram from thousands of years ago really affect your life? The Tree of Life. It is more than just an intricate diagram. It's Kabbalah's foundational map, a symbolic representation of the structure of the universe, and perhaps more intimately, the human psyche. Think of it as a blueprint, a system of coordinates, a map that guides us on our spiritual journey, revealing the hidden pathways to self-discovery and connection with the divine. Within this map lie the 10 Sephirot, the building blocks of creation, each representing a different aspect of the divine and a different stage in the unfolding of reality. Are these Sephirot simply abstract concepts, or are they active forces shaping our lives? The answer, as we will see, is both. Each Sephirah embodies an interplay of opposing forces, a dynamic tension that drives creation and fuels our own personal growth. Let's begin our exploration of this map with the first three Sephirot: Keter, the crown; Chokmah, wisdom; and Binah, understanding. Keter, at the very top of the tree, represents the source of all creation, the unknowable Godhead, the infinite potential from which everything arises. It is the point of origin, the spark of divine will that sets the universe in motion. Chokmah, the second Sephirah, embodies divine wisdom, the active principle, the creative impulse that gives form to Keter's potential. It is the flash of insight, the moment of inspiration, the seed of all knowledge. Binah, the third Sephirah, represents divine understanding, the receptive principle, the womb of creation that nurtures and develops Chokmah's seed. It is the faculty of reason, the ability to analyze, synthesize, and comprehend. It is the understanding of the deep and complex underpinnings of life that makes the universe possible. These three Sephirot, Keter, Chokmah, and Binah, work together in perfect harmony to create our reality. But what happens when this harmony is disrupted? What happens when we become disconnected from the source? These first three Sephirot constitute what is known as the supernal triad, the realm of pure intellect and spiritual potential, often considered inaccessible to everyday human understanding. Indeed, grasping the essence of Keter, Chokmah, and Binah is a lifelong pursuit, a journey into the deepest mysteries of existence. But while these concepts may seem abstract and remote, they have a profound impact on our lives, shaping our thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Are these Sephirot beyond human comprehension, or can we find reflections of them within ourselves? Perhaps, as we will explore, the Sephirot and the Tree of Life are also tools for understanding ourselves. And what if these Sephirot were not just divine attributes, but also psychological archetypes, patterns of consciousness that exist within each of us? Keter, in this context, could be seen as the higher self, the source of our intuition and inspiration. Chokmah could represent our intuition, our ability to grasp knowledge without conscious reasoning. Binah could embody our rational mind, our capacity for logical thought and critical analysis. By understanding these connections, we can begin to map our own psychological landscape onto the Tree of Life, gaining insights into our strengths, weaknesses, and potential for growth. Is the Tree of Life merely a symbolic representation of the divine, or is it also a mirror reflecting our own inner world? The answer, as many Kabbalists believe, is both. The Tree of Life, then, is not just a diagram, but a model for organizing your experiences. Now that we've explored the foundational principles of the Tree of Life and the supernal triad, let us now turn to the practical application of this ancient map. How can we use the Tree of Life to navigate the complexities of our everyday lives? Consider this: the Tree of Life provides a framework for understanding the underlying principles at play, allowing you to make more conscious choices and create more fulfilling outcomes. How would that change your life? Let's begin with relationships. The Tree of Life can illuminate the hidden dynamics within our romantic connections, revealing the forces that draw us together and the challenges that pull us apart. Imagine mapping your relationship onto the Tree of Life, tracing the flow of energy and identifying areas of imbalance. What insights might you gain? Think of Keter as the initial spark of attraction, the unknowable mystery of the other person that draws you in. It is the sense of destiny, the feeling that you were meant to meet. Chokmah represents the active pursuit, the desire to know and connect with the other, the courtship phase where you actively seek to understand their thoughts, feelings, and dreams. Binah, then, is the understanding and commitment that develops over time, the foundation of the relationship built on shared values, mutual respect, and a deep sense of connection. When those things are not present, problems arise. By understanding how these Sephirot manifest in your relationship, you can gain valuable insights into its strengths and weaknesses. But what happens when challenges arise? What happens when the initial spark fades, the pursuit becomes tiresome, or the understanding falters? The Tree of Life can provide a framework for understanding these struggles, identifying the underlying imbalances, and offering pathways to resolution. Perhaps the initial attraction was based on superficial qualities, an imbalance in Keter, or maybe the pursuit became overly aggressive, an imbalance in Chakma, or perhaps the commitment was never truly solid, an imbalance in Binah. By recognizing these imbalances, you can take steps to restore harmony and create a more fulfilling relationship. But relationships aren't the only area where the Tree of Life can provide these insights. Let's consider your career. The Tree of Life can also be applied to your professional life, illuminating your path to success and fulfillment. Think of Keter as your initial inspiration or vision for your career, the spark of passion that ignites your ambition. Chakma represents the active pursuit of knowledge and skills, the continuous learning and development that allows you to grow and excel in your field. Binah embodies the understanding and mastery of your craft, the ability to create something of value, to contribute meaningfully to the world. Just like in relationships, challenges will inevitably arise in your career. The Tree of Life can help you navigate these obstacles, providing a framework for understanding the underlying dynamics and identifying pathways to overcome them. What does this practically look like? Perhaps you're feeling uninspired and disconnected from your work, an imbalance in Keter, or maybe you're struggling to acquire the necessary skills, an imbalance in Chakma, or perhaps you're questioning the value of your contributions, an imbalance in Binah. By recognizing these imbalances, you can take steps to realign your career with your true potential, finding renewed purpose and fulfillment. Imagine having a map that shows you exactly what steps to take, what skills to acquire, what connections to make. This is the power of the Tree of Life, a map that can guide you on your journey to success. These examples of relationships and career are just the beginning. The Tree of Life can be applied to any area of your life, from your health to your finances to your spiritual practice. By understanding the underlying principles at play, you can make more conscious choices and create more fulfilling outcomes. How would it feel to approach every aspect of your life with such a clear and powerful map? But we are just scratching the surface of the Tree of Life, and what we'll discover next is even more shocking as we delve deeper into the hidden meanings and symbolism within Kabbalistic teachings. We will explore how seemingly mundane experiences become profound spiritual lessons through the lens of Kabbalah. So how exactly do these imbalances manifest, and how can they affect your life? The Tree of Life is not a static diagram hanging on a wall, admired from a distance, but a dynamic system of interconnected energies, constantly flowing and influencing one another. Think of it as an electrical circuit, where each component affects the flow of current, or perhaps a complex ecosystem, where the health of one species impacts the entire web of life. Even a seemingly minor disruption in one area can have cascading effects throughout the entire system, creating unforeseen consequences. These are the hidden dynamics of the Tree of Life, and they are constantly at play, shaping our experiences and influencing our destinies. Energy flows between the Sephirot along specific pathways, often visualized as a lightning flash, zig-zagging down the tree. These pathways are not arbitrary. They represent specific channels or vibrational currents that connect the different aspects of the divine, and by extension, the different aspects of ourselves. When these channels are clear and open, energy flows freely, nourishing and harmonizing all the Sephirot. But when these channels become blocked or distorted, imbalances arise, leading to problems in our lives. Understanding these flows is key to working with the Tree of Life to better yourself. How can you possibly know where you are going if you don't even know how to look at the map? Imbalances in one Sephirah can, therefore, affect the entire system, leading to a wide range of problems in our lives. For example, an overemphasis on Hesed or mercy without Gevurah or judgment can lead to sentimentality, lack of boundaries, and an inability to make difficult but necessary decisions. Think of the person who constantly gives to others, even when it harms themselves, or the parent who can't bring themselves to discipline their child, even when they are acting out. Conversely, an overemphasis on Gevurah without Hesed can lead to being overly judgmental, critical, and lacking in compassion. Imagine the person who is always quick to condemn others, or the boss who rules with an iron fist, showing no empathy for their employees. These are just two examples of how imbalances within the Sephirot can manifest in our lives, creating unhappiness, conflict, and stagnation. Fortunately, Kabbalah provides us with tools for correcting these imbalances and restoring harmony to the system. These practices can include meditation, visualization, ethical action, and ritual, each designed to strengthen specific Sephirot and clear the channels of energy flow. However, it's important to emphasize that the goal is not to eliminate any particular Sephirah, but to achieve balance and harmony within the system. It's not about being all mercy or all judgment, but finding the right balance between the two, allowing each Sephirah to express its unique qualities in a healthy and constructive way. This balance is the key to unlocking our full potential and living a life of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. This is when one can truly start to appreciate the value of the tree of life in action. Furthermore, there is the notion of drawing energy from one area to strengthen another. But what happens when we start to draw from the wrong places? What happens when we disrupt the delicate balance of the tree for our own selfish desires? This is where we begin to enter the realm of forbidden knowledge, a topic fraught with ethical considerations and potential dangers. But we'll get to that later. For now, it's important to remember the dynamic nature of the tree of life and its potential for understanding and transforming our lives. So how exactly do these imbalances manifest, and how can they affect your life? Let's look at a few real-world cases that map to the tree of life. Let's begin with the case of the workaholic. Imagine a person who is excessively focused on their career, neglecting their relationships, health, and personal life. They work long hours, take on extra projects, and are constantly checking their email, even on weekends and vacations. What is driving this behavior? From a Kabbalistic perspective, this workaholism can be seen as an overemphasis on hard, or intellect, and netzach, or victory, leading to a relentless pursuit of achievement and external validation. The workaholic is driven by a need to prove themselves, to climb the corporate ladder, and to accumulate wealth and status. But in their single-minded pursuit of success, they neglect other important aspects of their lives. What have they sacrificed in the process? This overemphasis on hard and netzach often comes at the expense of hesed, or mercy, and gevurah, or judgment, resulting in a lack of self-compassion and balanced decision-making. The workaholic may be overly critical of themselves and others, setting unrealistic expectations and pushing themselves to the point of burnout. They may also struggle to set healthy boundaries, saying yes to every request, even when they are already overwhelmed. Moreover, the workaholic is often disconnected from tifrit, or beauty, and yesod, or foundation, leading to a loss of joy and meaning in their lives. They may feel empty and unfulfilled, despite their external success, wondering if all the hard work has really been worth it. How can the workaholic break free from this destructive pattern and find a more balanced and fulfilling life? Kabbalistic principles offer potential solutions. First, cultivating gratitude and appreciation for the good things in life, hesed, can help the workaholic to shift their focus from what they lack to what they already have. This can involve simple practices like keeping a gratitude journal, expressing appreciation to loved ones, or simply taking time to savor the beauty of nature. Second, setting healthy boundaries and learning to say no, gevurah, can help the workaholic to protect their time and energy, preventing them from becoming overwhelmed and resentful. This can involve assertively communicating their needs and limits to others, delegating tasks when possible, and prioritizing self-care activities. Finally, engaging in creative activities and practices that bring joy and meaning, tifrit, can help the workaholic to reconnect with their inner self and rediscover their passions. This can involve pursuing hobbies, spending time with loved ones, or engaging in spiritual practices that resonate with them. In doing so, they can restore balance to their lives. Now let's consider the case of the addict, Imagine a person who is struggling with addiction to drugs, alcohol, or other substances. Their life is consumed by their addiction, and they are unable to function normally without it. They may have lost their job, damaged their relationships, and neglected their health. What is the root cause of this destructive behavior? From a Kabbalistic perspective, addiction can be seen as stemming from an underdeveloped malkuth, or kingdom, leading to a lack of self-control and stability. The addict feels a sense of emptiness and insecurity, and they turn to substances as a way to fill the void and escape from their problems. Addiction stems from the absence of self-control. This underdeveloped malkuth is often accompanied by an overemphasis on netzach, or victory, seeking stimulation and pleasure, neglecting the consequences. The addict is driven by a desire for immediate gratification, and they are willing to risk everything to get it. They may engage in reckless behavior, ignoring the potential harm to themselves and others. The addict is also often disconnected from heart or intellect, resulting in difficulty in using rational thought to change course. They may know that their addiction is destroying their life, but they are unable to stop. They are trapped in a cycle of craving, compulsion, and despair. What steps can the addict take to break free from this destructive cycle and reclaim their life? Once again, Kabbalistic principles offer potential solutions. First, establishing a strong foundation of self-care and healthy habits, malkuth, can help the addict to build a sense of stability and self-worth. This can involve practices like eating nutritious foods, exercising regularly, getting enough sleep, and practicing mindfulness. Second, cultivating self-discipline and learning to delay gratification. Yesod can help the addict to resist cravings and make healthier choices. This can involve setting small, achievable goals, rewarding themselves for progress, and seeking support from others. Third, seeking help from others and connecting with a supportive community, netzach, can provide the addict with the encouragement and accountability they need to stay on track. This can involve joining a support group, working with a therapist, or confiding in trusted friends and family members. Finally, developing insight through thought and contemplation hard will allow the addict to see the clear logical reasons for change. These examples, while brief, clearly display the power of the tree of life. These examples are more than mere anecdotes. They are revealing the structure of imbalance. We've seen how imbalances in the Sephirot can manifest in different areas of our lives, leading to a wide range of problems and challenges. The tree of life provides a powerful tool for diagnosing the root causes of our problems and identifying potential solutions. These examples are just a starting point. The tree of life can be used to analyze any situation, challenge, or relationship in your life. But the tree of life is a powerful tool that can be used for both good and evil. Think of it as a knife, which can be used to heal or to harm, depending on the intention of the user. The same knowledge that can be used to create balance and harmony can also be used to create imbalance and destruction. What happens when we delve into the shadow side of the tree, exploring the forces of darkness and chaos? For every Sephira, there is a corresponding Kulipa, a shell or demon, a distorted or negative expression of its energy. These Kulipot represent the forces of imbalance and destruction, and they are always lurking in the shadows, waiting to be unleashed. There are rituals and techniques that can be used to invoke the Kulipot and unleash their destructive forces. These practices involve manipulating the energies of the tree for personal gain or to harm others. But the pursuit of power without wisdom and compassion can lead to disastrous consequences. What is the difference between good and bad power? The ethical implications of such practices are immense, and we must always be mindful of the potential dangers of misusing Kabbalistic knowledge. The true path of Kabbalah is not about manipulating external forces, but about transforming ourselves from within. The ultimate goal is not to control the universe, but to align ourselves with the divine will and to become instruments of peace, love, and compassion. The tree of life is a map for good, but with every good, there must be a bad. All right, so we've established that the tree of life is a map for good, but with every good, there must be a bad, a shadow, a distortion. These shadows are known as the kulipot, often misunderstood as external demons, but they are, in fact, the shadow or distorted reflections of the Sephirot. Think of it this way: imagine a perfectly functioning computer program designed for creativity and productivity. Now imagine a corrupted file, a virus that infiltrates the system, distorting its normal function and causing it to malfunction. The kulipot are like that corrupted file, a virus that distorts the inherent goodness and balance of the Sephirot. They are not external entities, but rather imbalances and distortions that arise from within the system itself. These kulipothic forces arise when the Sephirot are isolated, exaggerated, or used without proper balance and ethical consideration. It's not about good versus evil in a simplistic sense, but about harmony versus disharmony within the Kabbalistic system. When a Sephirah is separated from its counterparts, when its qualities are amplified to an extreme, or when it is used for selfish or unethical purposes, it becomes vulnerable to distortion, and the kulipot begin to manifest. This can even happen as the result of deliberately trying to make them happen. For every virtue, there is a vice, and in Kabbalah, this principle is reflected in the concept of inversion, where the positive qualities of a Sephirah are twisted into their negative counterparts. Hesed or mercy, for example, when isolated and exaggerated, becomes excessive indulgence, a lack of boundaries, and an inability to say no. Gevurah or judgment, on the other hand, when distorted, becomes cruelty, tyranny, and a relentless pursuit of punishment. Tifrit or beauty, when twisted, becomes vanity, narcissism, and a superficial obsession with appearances. These inversions are the hallmarks of the kulipot, and they represent a dangerous deviation from the path of balance and harmony. The dangers of fixating on a single Sephirah or a particular aspect of the tree of life are significant. Obsession with one aspect leads to imbalance and ultimately a distorted understanding of the whole. Imagine someone who becomes solely focused on power, neglecting compassion and empathy, or someone who becomes so consumed with intellectual pursuits that they lose touch with their emotions and intuition. These are examples of how fixating on a single Sephirah can lead to obsession and imbalance, creating a breeding ground for the kulipot to take root. But it is important to realize that this isn't something that just happens by accident. It requires deliberate effort and a willingness to embrace the shadow side. In fact, there are specific rituals and practices that are designed to harness these kulipothic forces, to tap into the dark side of the tree of life, but they come at a great cost. We'll look at those shortly. For now, remember that true understanding of Kabbalah requires a deep awareness of its shadow side and the ethical responsibility to use it wisely. After all, how can you navigate a map if you only ever consider the positive space? To truly understand how this works, let's look at a few scenarios where Kabbalistic principles are deliberately twisted or misused. These case studies will illustrate how the tree of life can be used to understand not only the forces of creation and harmony, but also the forces of destruction and imbalance. First, consider the case of the power-hungry politician. Imagine a politician who uses Kabbalistic symbolism and rhetoric to manipulate public opinion and consolidate power. They might invoke the tree of life in their speeches, promising to bring balance and harmony to society, but in reality, they are using these symbols as a smokescreen to hide their true intentions. Analyzing this behavior in terms of the tree of life, we can see that they are exploiting netzach, or victory, for personal gain, disregarding ethical considerations. They are manipulating yesod, or foundation, to control the masses through propaganda and misinformation, creating a false narrative that supports their agenda. They are twisting hard, or splendor, to create a false image of authority and charisma, presenting themselves as the savior of the people, when in reality, they are only serving their own ego. What are the potential consequences of such actions based on Kabbalistic principles? Eventually, they will face a downfall and disillusionment as the imbalance catches up to them. The karma and spiritual consequences for manipulating others will be severe, leading to a degradation of their own soul. The erosion of trust and social harmony that they have caused will ultimately undermine their own power, leaving them isolated and alone. Now, let's consider the case of the manipulative guru. Imagine a spiritual leader who uses Kabbalistic teachings to control their followers and exploit them financially or sexually. They might present themselves as an enlightened master, offering secret knowledge and transformative practices, but in reality, they are only interested in their own gratification. Analyzing this behavior in terms of the tree of life, we can see that they are distorting Tifrit, or beauty, to create a cult of personality and narcissistic worship. They are suppressing Jevura, or judgment, to prevent followers from questioning their authority, creating a climate of fear and obedience. They are misusing Hesed, or mercy, to foster dependence and emotional manipulation, grooming their followers to become completely reliant on them. What are the potential consequences of such actions based on Kabbalistic principles? The eventual exposure of their hypocrisy and abuse is inevitable, as the truth always finds a way to surface. The shattering of their carefully constructed image will be devastating, leaving them stripped of their power and influence. The karmic repercussions for exploiting others' vulnerability will be profound, leading to a spiritual crisis and a reckoning with their own dark side. Consider, finally, the case of the black magician. Imagine an individual who uses Kabbalistic rituals and practices to inflict harm on others or to achieve selfish desires. They might seek to curse their enemies, manipulate events to their advantage, or gain supernatural powers for their own aggrandizement. Analyzing this behavior in terms of the tree of life, we can see that they are inverting Jevura, or judgment, to become a force of destruction and vengeance. They are harnessing the Kulipot to unleash negative energies and curses, poisoning the world around them with their malevolence. They are severing the connections between the Sephirot to create chaos and discord, disrupting the natural order of the universe. The karmic backlash of their actions will return threefold, inflicting upon them the very harm they sought to inflict on others. The spiritual degradation of their own soul will be profound, leading to a descent into madness and despair. The potential for self-destruction and madness is ever present as they become consumed by their own dark desires. Thus, the story of the golem illustrates this exact process. These cases reveal the nature of dark energy and magic. While distinct, each case study involves the deliberate perversion of Kabbalistic principles for unethical ends. The tree of life can be used to understand not only the forces of creation and harmony, but also the forces of destruction and imbalance. And while these individuals may seem like outliers, they actually represent a very real and very dangerous possibility within the realm of Kabbalah. What makes these individuals so dangerous is that they aren't merely dabbling in the dark arts. They are actively seeking to harness the power of the Kulipot, to tap into the shadow side of the tree of life, and to use it for their own selfish purposes. But just how do they do that? And what are the specific rituals and techniques that are used to harness these dark energies? There are, in fact, techniques that can be used to invoke the dark side of the tree of life, but they come at a great cost. These techniques involve deliberately manipulating the energies of the Sephirot, often through inversion rituals, where traditional Kabbalistic practices are reversed or distorted to achieve malevolent purposes. Imagine reciting sacred texts backwards, using distorted symbols, or performing rituals in a desecrated space. These are all examples of inversion rituals designed to tap into the negative energies of the Kulipot. There is also the use of sigils and incantations to invoke specific Kulipothic entities and bind them to one's will. These are not just abstract symbols. They are gateways to powerful and dangerous forces. The ethical implications of engaging in such practices are immense. The potential for self-destruction and karmic backlash is significant, as the forces unleashed can quickly turn against the practitioner. The dark side of Kabbalah is not a game. It is a path that leads to spiritual ruin. In fact, some historical interpretations of Kabbalah may themselves be examples of this misuse, subtly hinting at a hidden history of dark practices that have been shrouded in secrecy for centuries. In light of this knowledge, discernment and ethical responsibility are essential when working with Kabbalistic knowledge. One must always be mindful of the potential dangers of dabbling in the dark arts. Now that we know the powers of the dark side of Kabbalah, is it even possible to come back from such a place? The case studies reveal the powers of darkness. But now that we know the powers of the dark side of Kabbalah, is it even possible to come back from such a place? The Tree of Life offers a path not only into darkness, but also back into the light, but it's not a simple or easy journey. It requires a sincere commitment to ethical action, a willingness to confront one's own shadow side, and a deep understanding of the principles of Kabbalah. The Kabbalistic concept that most embodies this return is teshuvah, often translated as repentance, but it encompasses far more than mere regret or remorse. Teshuvah is about a fundamental transformation of one's inner self, a turning away from negative patterns and a return to the divine source. Teshuvah involves several key components. First, it requires recognizing the harm caused by one's actions, acknowledging the pain and suffering that has been inflicted on oneself and others. This involves taking full responsibility for one's choices and avoiding the temptation to blame external factors or circumstances. Second, it entails making amends where possible, seeking to repair the damage that has been done and to restore relationships that have been broken. This might involve apologizing to those who have been hurt, offering restitution for financial losses, or performing acts of service to atone for past misdeeds. But perhaps most importantly, teshuvah involves understanding the underlying imbalances that led to the negative actions in the first place. It requires identifying the root causes of one's destructive behaviors and working to correct those imbalances through self-awareness, ethical action, and spiritual practice. What specific practices and techniques can aid in this process of rebalancing the Sephirot and reclaiming one's spiritual integrity? Meditation and contemplation are essential tools for cultivating self-awareness and insight. By quieting the mind and turning inward, one can gain a deeper understanding of one's own thoughts, emotions, and motivations. Ethical action and acts of kindness are crucial for repairing the damage caused by past actions and for restoring harmony to one's relationships. Study of Kabbalistic texts and teachings can provide a deeper understanding of the divine principles and can offer guidance on how to live a more ethical and fulfilling life. And finally, connection with a supportive community of like-minded individuals can provide encouragement, accountability, and a sense of belonging on the path. But the journey back involves facing one's shadow side and integrating the lessons learned from past mistakes. It's not about denying the darkness, but about understanding it and transforming it into light. How can we transform darkness into light? Let's revisit those scenarios we talked about before, but now let's look at the possibility of the figures turning away from the darkness. First, consider the case of the power-hungry politician. Imagine that this politician recognizes the harm caused by their manipulative tactics and takes steps to repair the damage. They could begin by acknowledging their past misdeeds and apologizing to the public for their dishonesty and abuse of power. They could then commit to using their power for the benefit of others, working to address social injustices and to promote the well-being of their constituents. They could also seek to reform the political system, implementing measures to prevent corruption and to ensure transparency and accountability. Analyzing this transformation in terms of the Tree of Life, we can see that they are rebalancing Netzach, or victory, with Hesed, or mercy, and Gevurah, or judgment, using power for the benefit of others rather than for personal gain. They are reforming Yesod, or foundation, by building their policies and actions on a foundation of truth and honesty, rather than on propaganda and misinformation. And they are transforming Had, or splendor, by cultivating an image of integrity and compassion, rather than relying on false charisma and empty rhetoric. What steps can be taken to reclaim one's spiritual integrity? It begins with those first steps towards humility. Now, let's consider the case of the manipulative guru. Imagine that this spiritual leader acknowledges their abuse of power and takes steps to make amends to their followers. They could begin by publicly confessing their wrongdoings and apologizing to those who have been harmed. They could then offer restitution to their victims, providing financial compensation or other forms of support. They could also commit to reforming their spiritual practices, eliminating any elements of control, manipulation, or exploitation. Analyzing this transformation in terms of the tree of life, we can see that they are purifying Tifrit, or beauty, by dismantling their cult of personality and fostering a more egalitarian and compassionate community. They are restoring Jevura, or judgment, by allowing followers to express their feelings and concerns without fear of punishment or reprisal. And they are reinstating Hesed, or mercy, by offering unconditional love and support to their followers, with no strings attached and with no expectation of personal gain. Consider, finally, the case of the black magician. Imagine that this individual renounces their destructive practices and dedicates themselves to healing and helping others. They could begin by severing all connections with the Kulipat, cutting off the flow of negative energies and curses. They could then seek to repair the damage they have caused, using their knowledge of magic to heal the sick, protect the vulnerable, and restore harmony to the world. They could also commit to using their powers only for ethical and benevolent purposes, dedicating their lives to serving the greater good. Analyzing this transformation in terms of the tree of life, we can see that they are reforming Jevura, or judgment, by channeling their power into acts of healing and compassion, rather than into acts of destruction and vengeance. They are re-establishing the connections between the Sephirot, restoring harmony and balance to their own soul and to the world around them. The Tree of Life provides a framework for understanding the potential for transformation and redemption, even after engaging with the darkest forces. Each of these examples provides a path back. However, it is important to realize that these transformations are not easy or automatic. They require immense courage, humility, and a willingness to confront one's own demons. But the potential rewards are immense, including a renewed sense of purpose, a deeper connection to the divine, and a lasting legacy of healing and compassion. So how do we ensure we stay on this correct path? The journey back to balance is not a one-time event, but a continuous process requiring ongoing self-reflection, ethical commitment, and a willingness to learn from mistakes. Think of it like tending a garden, where constant care and attention are needed to maintain its beauty and health. Just as a garden can quickly become overgrown with weeds if neglected, so too can our souls become weighed down by negative thoughts, emotions, and behaviors if we fail to cultivate them with intention and awareness. The more power you have, the more responsibility you have to use it wisely and ethically. Establishing a regular practice of self-assessment and ethical reflection to identify and correct any imbalances that may arise can be as simple as starting a journal, performing meditation, finding a mentor, or seeking out therapy. There will be challenges and setbacks along the way, but perseverance and a commitment to ethical principles are essential for success, because the journey is just as important as the destination. The Tree of Life is a guide for good, but in a world with both good and bad, it is on each one of us to choose what path we want to follow. But with so much to learn and so many paths to choose from, what are we to do next? As we conclude our exploration of Kabbalah, let us reflect on the journey we have undertaken through the intricate pathways of the Tree of Life, the delicate interplay of opposing forces, and the constant potential for both good and evil that resides within the very fabric of Kabbalistic practice. We have seen how Kabbalah offers not just a mystical theory, but a deeply practical system for understanding ourselves, our world, and our place within the divine tapestry of existence. Returning to our initial question of how an ancient diagram can possibly affect modern life, we can now appreciate the tree of life not merely as an archaic symbol, but as a living guide, a comprehensive map of consciousness, a blueprint for navigating the complexities of our inner and outer worlds. Recall also the initial reservations, the apprehension that Kabbalah might be dangerous or inaccessible to all but a select few. While the path certainly presents its perils, and the potential for misuse undoubtedly exists, understanding the underlying principles allows us to traverse this path with greater awareness, responsibility, and ultimately with greater wisdom. But the principles of Kabbalah extend far beyond the realm of personal growth and spiritual development. They offer profound insights into social justice, environmentalism, and creative expression. Consider how the Kabbalistic concept of interconnectedness can inspire us to treat all beings with compassion and respect, recognizing that we are all part of a single, unified whole. Consider how the principle of balance can guide us in creating sustainable solutions that harmonize the needs of humanity with the needs of the planet. And consider how the Kabbalistic emphasis on creativity and imagination can empower us to express our unique gifts and to bring beauty and meaning into the world. Indeed, Kabbalah invites us to explore consciousness, cultivate awareness, and forge deeper connections with ourselves, with others, and with the very essence of reality itself. This is more than historical context. It is about how to relate with the world and build a framework for your relationships. Through this exploration of Kabbalah, you have gained a deeper understanding of its core principles, its rich symbolism, and its transformative potential. You are now empowered to use this knowledge to navigate life's challenges with greater wisdom, to make ethical choices with greater clarity, and to create a more fulfilling and meaningful life with greater intention. It is a journey that requires courage, humility, and perseverance, but the rewards are immeasurable: a deeper connection to the divine, a more profound sense of purpose, and a lasting legacy of healing and compassion. Never forget that the answers you've been looking for were inside you the whole time. And so, we return to our initial image of Kabbalah as a secret map, but now with a deeper understanding of its transformative potential. It is not simply an ancient mystical tradition, but a practical guide for living a more conscious and meaningful life. The true power of Kabbalah lies not in manipulating external forces, but in transforming ourselves from within. It is the framework and history of the soul, ready to be observed. If whispers from beyond have stirred the ember of curiosity within you, like the video and continue on this enigmatic journey by subscribing to Vox Culture. Share your thoughts, fellow mystic, if you want to delve deeper into the world of ancient wisdom and esotericism. For a deeper dive, check out the related content in the description. In light of this exploration, the path forward becomes clear. We set out to understand Kabbalah, and we have now achieved that goal by exploring its history, its core concepts, and its practical applications. With that, we conclude our exploration of Kabbalah, and so our journey comes to an end.